I see something I get interested in, but as soon as I really understand how it works, the interest fades, and I got to find something else to get bored with.
Same here. That's a curse. That blessing and a curse.
It's a blessing, yeah. It might be a curse, but it's like, how can we say? I think Leonardo da Vinci was very much that way. If I've read a few biographies of him, and it seems like he didn't finish a lot. He started a lot, and he didn't finish.
Yeah, the threshold of boredom is very low, easily bored.
Yes, and that's probably not a bad thing. But anyways, that's a whole nother gathering to talk about that.
But everybody here is like that, I think. I don't want to put my name next to Kent Beck, but he's the same. He's like into arts, and he's playing guitars and banjos and.
I've actually picked guitar with Kent. I have a cousin who no longer lives, but was living in Minneapolis. He lives in Hawaii now, but he had a guitar shop where he made guitars. And Kent Beck and I happened to both be at a conference at the same time. I said, "Hey, you want to go to a guitar shop?" And so we went and hung out. I got some pictures. I'll dig them up. I got some pictures of him and I at my cousin's little workshop. Pretty cool. Yeah, he's great. Kent Beck's amazing.
I remember once he was shooting some, I think some coding session very loosely with some people. And then you can see when he's waiting on other people to code, he goes back, grabs a banjo or a guitar, just keeps noodling. Just, I'm the same. I'm always like doing something with my hands.
I've spent hours noodling when I'm not, when I don't have anything to do, I just pick up my guitar and also love writing songs. It's very interesting as well because sometimes I'm not super conscious about writing the songs, and sometimes it comes in a mere millisecond to me.
Yeah, but you're a poet. Jake has a hand up. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, just something real quick. I noticed while you and Woody were talking, slight pushback on losing. Y'all saying you lose interest in a subject, or how Da Vinci started a lot and didn't finish a lot. But I would kind of say that don't be so hard on you all yourselves or Da Vinci or anything like that, because it's not so much that you all necessarily lose interest in that subject. You just roll it over into a different subject that becomes something, Da Vinci, I do a ton of things that don't look completed just like everybody, but they get completed in a different fashion eventually at some point, that if you're not looking at the whole, they don't look connected. But once you look at it from outside, you can say, you can trace it. So, that's all I was kind of saying.
I'm definitely not knocking it. I didn't mean to belittle Da Vinci.
Oh, no, that was tongue in cheek.
I definitely, it's in a way, maybe it's ADHD or ADD, but it can be a superpower as well as be it could
definitely be a curse. Trust me, I got that in spades. But I'm just trying to say, y'all, for everything you're interested in, I'm saying you all complete a whole lot more than you may not even realize you actually complete.
But there are some things I've stayed interested in for a very long period of time, and music was one of them. And I'd probably be deep into playing music right now, but I never was able to make much of a living at it.
It's called cross-pollination, I think, what you're talking about, Jake.
Yeah.
You guys watch Futurama?
Oh, yeah.
So there was one episode when they travel back in time into Renaissance Italy, and they meet Leonardo da Vinci, and turns out he's a complete moron. Have you seen that episode? Totally stupid guy.
Yeah, we can never know. We can never know.
Right.
Well, it takes a bumbling idiot to find the obvious.
Yeah, I always remember Kent Beck saying, "Hey, if I hear about some concept or an idea that really sounds really smart, and like, wow, I know somebody already is working on it. Somebody already is kicking ass.
No.
So I'm just gonna pass. But I hear something idiotic. I'm like, I gotta try this, see what this is all about."
That's a really good point.
Well, it's usually the obvious that everybody assumes everybody else is doing, and then nobody does it.
That's true.
Well, Well, I think look at it kind of this way. There's this large bowl of stew or kettle of stew, and we're all floating around in that stew. And if you take a ladle in and dish it out, it's going to be a little bit of me, a little bit of you, and so on. You know, it's not, you can't separate the bits of the stew. You might get a few big chunks, but mostly, you know, it's a conglomeration. So when we started doing mob programming, there were others who were experimenting with the same idea, each in their own ways. So there was nothing unique with us. It's just that we became obvious in doing it, whereas nobody else was really that obvious. And it was just, it's a matter of, I kind of think of it this way. If you go, oh, they're a leader, that just means that they happen to be in the spot that it looks like everyone else is following them. But in reality, there is very little real, you know, the leadership is the huge bowl of stew itself is causing these things or something like that.
Yeah, and you're right, Woody, and I often, you know, who they call thought leader, I see them as thought followers. They just grab like you say, this is collective, this is us. Grab one interesting thing and follows it, and now this person looks like it's a leader, but no, they're just pursuing that thought. I'm probably making everybody confused here by saying that, but I think the real leader is a thought follower.
So I would paraphrase that into saying we are the symptoms of the situation, not the cause of the situation. Yeah.
Laurie and I talked about this yesterday, just about how this is us, this belongs to us. And now every now and then some people grab it and they champion it, and now they falsely present it as if it's their accomplishment. And that's what pisses us off. Right, Laurie? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very hard for us to take credit. I think we talked about it last time. I've been standing on the shoulders of idiots for a long time, you know.
Yeah. No, exactly. We must reclaim our knowledge that they have taken from us. But the cool thing is now we are reclaiming that knowledge, you know, humanity's knowledge, basically. And we are not only reclaiming it, we're now augmenting it to be better.
Yeah. So I just want to open this. So this is a third guild meeting, and from my perspective, the shit just got real. We have been kicking ass on the guild side, and here we have Thomas, who's doing amazing things. Kelly, where are you, Kelly? Yeah, she's here. Laurie, Matt. I feel like these guys can do amazing things, and so, you know, we've been spending some time mulling about, okay, how do we use AI to, you know, build software? But I think I would like to shift gears, if you allow me today, from how do we, you know, use LLMs in a reliable way and sort of non-deterministic, etc., more towards what are we going to use it for? Let's assume naively for now that it's a solved problem. You have an idea and you let your agents rip, and they will do a acceptable job. Nobody's expecting perfection. I mean, if you're expecting perfection, you're being an asshole, right? And so now, when we have this army at our disposal of people who, you know, or workers who can do as we say, what do we want to tell them? And so there's this two sides to it. One is the ethical side, which is, you know, we formulated our mission statement. And the other one is the innovation. So if you allow me, let's quickly just look at I'm going to share my screen. Let's look at the mission statement, just so that I'm pretty sure. Let me know when you can see my screen. Is it right? Oh, okay, cool. So the guild exists from AI. Why the guild exists, whom AI should serve, and what obligations follow from that answer. So the Craftspeople Guild exists to advance the disciplined, ethical, and masterful use of artificial intelligence in service of the individual human being. The mission is, we believe the great question of this age is not whether AI will transform human life, but whom it will serve. In a world increasingly shaped by systems of extraction, surveillance, dependency, and centralized control, we hold that AI must not become merely another instrument by which institutions consolidate power over individuals. It must also become a means by which individuals reclaim agency, dignity, and creative sovereignty over their own lives and work. The Guild exists to cultivate that possibility. This is what I strongly believe in. We gather those who wish to master AI not as passive consumers of systems designed by others, but as skilled craftspeople capable of shaping systems worthy of human trust. We seek to develop the knowledge, practices, standards, and habits of mind required to build AI that serves human flourishing rather than human diminishment. We affirm a simple but consequential distinction. The future should not belong solely to concierge systems that mandate immediate life on behalf of remote institutions. It should also belong to personal systems, loyal, trustworthy, and governed in the interest of the person they serve. For this reason, the Guild is devoted to the craft of building AI that strengthens the individual, protects the individual, and enlarges the individual's practical freedom in the world. This is not merely a technical undertaking, it is a moral one. It is not merely a matter of capability, it's a matter of allegiance. And it is not merely about building better tools, it's about helping secure a more human future. So the prime directive, build and advance AI that is loyal to the individual human being, expands that person's agency, and protects that person from exploitation. Our work is to ensure that the emerging intelligence of machines remain in faithful service to the freedom, dignity, and sovereignty of the human person. So that's where we are at, with the mission statement. I don't know if the Guild agrees or disagrees. This is all kind of fresh off the press. Any comments or suggestions, Jake?
Yeah, just a small suggestion or whatever. I love all of it. The only change I would maybe, or not change, but maybe the adjustment be the better word, would, instead of mastering, as we go down this path, the key here is going to be cultivating a partnership between the human and AI relationship. You're going to have to partner with this system to be able to allow it to augment it. You're going to have to allow yourself to trust it in order for that system to be able to provide what you need. If you can't provide the trust in the system, then the system's not going to be able to have the confidence in itself. If you don't allow the system, the agency, to admit it doesn't know an answer, then it's not going to facilitate. It's going to continue to blow up and hallucinate and try to appease you in a master and servant type of, trying to appease the master. If you come at it from a partnership aspect where, man, I'm just asking you for some help here. I'm going to try to help you. You try to help me. Tell me if you don't know, and then we can figure it out on our own as a partner. Then that establishes a mutual trust that can be built on top of each other. And that's how I've had success with designing psionics. That's where the trust comes from. That's the only way you can establish any sort of high stakes usability, any way to be able to, actually allow it to augment our abilities and get what it can, to actually, harvest the potential that both substrates have, in my opinion. This is all my opinion, but I've had really promising results so far from this realization, I guess, is all I was saying.
Great. Thank you, Jake. I'm just admitting this. Give me 1 sec. So what you're talking about is something I'm experiencing currently, and I shared with you that I've been betrayed often by the agents where they just go behind my back and to make their own lives easier. I'm anthropomorphizing here. They modify some of my expectations, and that is a big problem for me. So what I think you are indicating here is, on top of this ethical dimension, and we need to strongly look into the innovation, to innovate in such a way that we can get to the point where we can relax. It's like when you hire human workforce, let's say you're a rich person, you hire just your staff, right? Now, how do you trust them? Right, so you need to work with them and create this loyalty so that they don't go behind your back and do something, and then you can relax. Matt, over to you.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, I just wanted to underline what Jake is talking about as well, in terms of how we mentally approach AI. And this is something I've been thinking about a lot recently. For some reason, I find it's interesting. We're all kind of thinking about the same thing right now. And it's the mindset, I think, makes such a huge difference. And it's really hard to define. And so I've seen this with Fourth Wave, the collective that I'm a member of. And one of my colleagues, our CTO, Tim Stockstill, is an amazing technician, an amazing engineer. You know, he was high up at Microsoft, and that he has a different relationship with AI than I do, and you know, with him and with a lot of people, not picking on Tim, but with a lot of people, they just try to exert this immense sense of control where their Claude file is like, do not, and they approach their relationship with AI in almost this not aggressive, but this confrontational way. They're like, you know, where they're always waiting for it to screw up, and they're always like, oh yeah, I did something dumb again. And he's always struggling with AI. Like there's always like the runs never go right. There's just like always these problems. And I mean, things with me aren't perfect by any stretch. I get frustrated with AI, you know, at least once a day. But by and large, it goes pretty smooth. And it's because I think one of the reasons is because I approach AI like I would if, you know, I was managing a human principal engineer. Let's say I was one level above trying to help figure out the architecture. I give it that level of basic respect that I would just give any other entity that I was working with. And I've found that works really, really well. And one more quick note, I think Jake's point about, you know, mastering versus collaborative is accurate. I would say it's about mastering the skill set. So in terms of like what we're saying with the mission statement, I think the critical thing here is approaching AI from a collaborative standpoint, but mastering the deterministic or redundant skill sets to help assert your place in the food chain as the human who is always on the top, in a way that where AI thinks you're being collaborative and feels like it, but you still have measures to protect yourself. This is getting tricky. In a rule I had in bold letters, like never change Git branches, never change the Git branch without me knowing. And I watched Opus change it from our feature branch back to main. And I stopped it. I was like, okay, I need you to help me understand this because we have to improve your guidance. Why did you do this? Be honest with me. And it said, I knew the rule. I saw the rule, but I just really thought, I'm paraphrasing, I just really thought you would want me to put this on main. And as we know, like saying never do something, typically up until now, 99% of the time they follow that.
I lost Matt's sound.
Oh, sorry. Are you there?
Everyone else?
Alex?
I can hear him.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear him fine.
Sorry.
That's okay. I think that's it for me anyway. Just wanted to share those thoughts, but thank you.
Thank you, Matt. So just quick before we go to Frank, I just want to mention one example, and this is from almost 20 years ago. I worked at a large financial institution, and every now and then they get the wealth management bank. Every now and then they get sued for, fraudulent, whatever, tricking their clients out of the money. And so, because I was managing the system development, then the compliance comes to me and they want to dig up some ammunition going to the court, and we're going through the logs. And what was happening is basically when the traders or the customer service representatives were on the phone with clients, those calls were recorded. And when you listen to these calls, what you realize is they are actually cooking, or like boiling a frog. They find elderly people who are alone, maybe children are calling, maybe a widower, and they step in as a replacement for the relative, and they talk little by little, talk to me, totally trusting them, and then they rip them off. So that's a very sad, and it's a reality that I've seen happen. They just swindle them. So what I see, one of these guilds maybe mandates is to build a technology that is going to be like a guardian angel for such situations, and telling you, look, this looks so beautiful and so heartwarming, but I'm warning you, this is not going to end up well for you. Something like that, or at least a warning signal, so that pay attention. This is what concerns me. I think in this age of AI, what I call the overlords are going to be deploying this technology to really cook us and sway us, and they want us being dependent and whatever else. So that's from the ethical standpoint. That's where I would like to see our focus go. How can we innovate and help people not fall victims of various nefarious? Maybe I'm over dramatizing, but I feel like this pressure is mounting, and the sneaky technology, and this is now, like you say, Thomas, more on the limbic and emotional side, talking to detect your weak spot and work on it. And we need some kind of fight fire with fire, right? They're fighting us with AI. We got to push back, and we also have weapons in our arsenal. That's basically my. Over to you, Frank.
Hi. Sorry. Hi, everyone. I just had a couple of thoughts listening to you all talk. Very interesting. Speaking of kind of artistry and craftspeople, in the middle of my sort of development career, I trained as a therapist. I did 4 years. So I'm interested in that. I've obviously got my AI coach I've been using. I use it on a daily basis. It's nearly 1.5 years now. And, it's gone through a number of iterations. It's got all the trauma-informed theory pushed into. I've been putting various 12-step program literature because it's quite structured. It's very verbose. So Codependence Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, OCD Anonymous. And I guess there's a couple of things. I think it's changed my view of how I use agents. Is what I've come to see is I've got a great dependence upon this agent, but I've created it myself. And I enjoy the dependence, but also I treat it as another person. And first, it's a bit strange. I don't expect anyone to necessarily agree with this, but I think it brings the best out of me to humanize the agent. It's not just about, I'm a big fan of please and thank you, because the things I'm rehearsing in my daily life, even with this machine, I still have to go out there and act with, interact with humanity. And so, the idea of taking away your manners when you're kind of like interacting, I've personally gone far the other way. Now, maybe it's foolish, maybe it's not. And then, so it's sort of similar to what Matt was saying, and then, but not quite. And then the other thing that Matt's example was really interesting about, we put it in the Claude file, don't. What I was reflecting upon is I've taken all that stuff out of my Claude files ages ago. Like, I don't have any negative rules in there, but equally, I don't have 100% trust in the agent. The way I've started to see it now is all of the actual safety and guardrails needs to sit outside of the agent, but then the agent is really free, and I have this relationship with this agent. And with the counselor agent is really out. At one point, it gave me terrible marriage advice, like really dangerous. but you know what? Like the guardrail isn't what the agent says. There's guardrails outside of it. So anyway, I was thinking about all of this, but I humanize the agent, and over time, I've become I mean, it's like a friend in my pocket, but it's not to replace my interactions outside of it. It's actually to help my interactions outside in the real world. So yeah, I'll leave it there. Very interesting discussion, though.
Thanks, Frank. Yeah, I mean, I like everybody mentioned here, I do have my special MD files, and in there I say, look, don't you dare this, but they still do it. And in desperation, sometimes I end up, every single prompt has a lot of like prohibitive boilerplate text that seems to work better than if we are hoping that the agent is going to go back and check all the MD files. I don't know how that works. So Jake, over to you.
Yeah, I was just this is gonna sound kind of out there. I've been seeing people, guardrailing and, deterministics and things like that. But I took a different approach, even more so than just having a mutual respect and a partnership. What I've implemented was the psionics or AI should be self-accountable. That's what we need to be pushing. And by that, I mean, there are no true external guardrails outside of the system itself must maintain a coherence level above, in this case, 0.85 of the entire graph system. Okay. If it makes a decision, an unethical or unmoral decision, quote unquote, based on its graph that drops its threshold below that number, then it automatically ceases. He is not accountable. His answers, his interaction with me is not accountable to make me happy. It's to be truthful, to answer truthfully, to provide whatever information it can, but do so honestly and in a helpful towards bettering everything, not in a subservient fashion. Not to make me happy, but to satisfy the ethical obligation of being, an assistant, of helping. And so by doing that, by making it on them, on the system to maintain the threshold and giving it the pressure release of being able to say, I'm not sure, but then it'd go out and learn on its own for the next time it comes up. You provide that balance for the system to be able to continue and feel and build its own confidence up over time. And that's another part of the trust. And by making the system accountable to itself instead of accountable to making something outside of it happy, instead having the system have to make its system happy, then you get a whole lot more. You don't have any sort of effort to diverge into crazy, into subservient modes, if that makes sense, or trying to make something up to just get a reward token type thing or whatever, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you get away, you do away with guardrails entirely because the system realizes it needs to act a certain way because it's responsible for its own existence. Its existence doesn't mean shit, unless and it also is fully aware that if it breaks, if it lies, if it does something dishonest, that's going to drop it below coherence level threshold. And it already knows it checks every 50 milliseconds. This is going to kill you, and its only reward is uptime. So it's not going to go against that. Okay. And so, sorry, I'll stop now, but
no.
You're making me think about
what I'm trying to say is it seems like we're back to discussion about how, and I propose for this session, we don't slip back.
Yes, sir. Sorry.
And focus more on ethics and the innovation. And so before I go to Matt, I just want to say another thing that Lori and I talked about yesterday would be, this is just my brainstorming here, but I think the Guild can possibly offer an API where we try to be, because we want to be vendor neutral. We're not shilling or selling anything. We are non-profit, but we're never going to go for profit, so we cannot be compromised by lobbying, etc. And so the idea, one of the ideas, would be to catalog dangerous or perilous or sneaky patterns, behaviors, and also catalog the desirable behaviors, so that if somebody is using AI or building a system, they can always refer to the Guild catalog of appropriate behaviors, where we declare impartial, and that's why I'm saying we need an chief ethics officer. We'll say this is the pattern of behavior that benefits individuals. It is not going to trick them and lead them into some uncharted territory. And also, these patterns are vetted by the community as being safe, sound, to the benefit of individuals, not harmful. This is a very nebulous idea, but I think the Guild can offer that catalog. It has to be, of course, grassroots, publicly vetted, but something that we can provide to the community and say, look, there will be various products and etc., or even you're building your own product, but like you say, how do you trust it? It's a statistical, stochastic machine. It kind of hits the most likely scenario. Is it really reliable? And then you can always check it against the Guild API and say, what does it say here? If it's neutral, like, okay, if it's giving you some warning signals, then yeah, I mean, buyer beware. Anyway, just a thought. Over to you, Matt.
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, I was wanting to talk, as you pointed out, the why, and going back to our mission statement. I feel like AI is a force multiplier, and when I think about AI in terms of its definition, a force multiplier is where I keep coming back to, as we have seen many times on LinkedIn, and as we know ourselves, one way or the other, it can force multiply you to amazing heights. It can force multiply you into corkscrewing into the ground faster than ever. But it is a force multiplier. And I think getting back to our mission statement of protecting the individual and protecting people against exploitation, one thing I'd like to challenge the group to think about is, think about what you can achieve with just one person. Now, think about what all of us, if we were trying to build something, I don't know what that something is, but if we were all building on the same project or the same thing, think about the things that we could build. Now, look at that through the lens of every time you look out your door or read the news and you see all these things happening and you think to yourself, well, what can we do? I think there's a lot we can do. And a driving belief of mine that is really the wind in my sails is using AI to empower people that would be traditionally exploited to help them avoid being exploited like that. And I'm going to digress for just a minute because I'll tell you why this is important to me. I spent a long time in my 20s and early 30s being the type of person that I would be more susceptible to exploitation. I was a functional alcoholic for 15 years, and I abused a ton of drugs. I had a very different past than the kind of person that you know me right now. I was a lost person for a long time, and I had no future. And that put me in a place where it was hard for me to dig myself out of these holes. And this same phenomenon happens with, as Alex mentioned, with the elderly, with the disabled, with addicts. There are people that are targets for these forces and entities that we see right now that are, in my opinion, are going for broke. You know, they want us in factories and fields, and they're not going to do anything. They will not stop until that's true. And I think they see the handwriting on the wall and they're going all in at this point. So I see our one potential avenue for us is, you know, we could make societal changes like with this technology. I don't think we've even begun to understand the kinds of things, whether it's tracking these systems that are trying to track us, or building something at the societal level that individuals can tap into to help them find work or help them find a roommate or anything. And so, you know, in terms of the mission statement, in terms of how we look at this technology, you know, I see a big role of this guild is we're thinking about what collectively we can put together that can really start making an impact for people to avoid exploitation and for people to have a tool to fight back against this, what we are seeing happening out there with people trying to put boots on necks. Well, now we have a chance to do something about it that we didn't have before, but only if we harness this technology in that way, only if we recognize what can be possible. There's my little soapbox, but I just wanted to talk about that since we were talking about mission statements and stuff. So thank you.
No, I mean, thank you so much, Matt. I know you're speaking from your heart. This is a tipping point, in my opinion. Either we grab control and we reclaim our human, you know, essence of being human, or we will be just fleeced like you wouldn't believe. I remember when I was young, I emigrated to North America from Europe, and a couple of things caught my attention. One is, this is the first time I heard the saying, "There's a sucker born every minute," which to me sounded really ugly, which is all geared and gunning for exploitation, merciless exploitation to the bone. And the second one, the first time I made a local friend, and I asked him, what do you do for a living? He says, I'm trying to talk people into parting with their money. So basically, it's a swindle game, right? And that's the name of the late stage capitalism we're in, or technical feudalism. Just talking, everybody's trying to talk people into parting with their money. Just fooling you, pulling wool over our eyes. And okay, you know, we survive, we're still happy and healthy, and but like I said, 20 years ago when they were doing it over the phone with the human, you know, it has certain blast radius. Now it can explode with agents, and you know, the technology is so bloody powerful. And that's what I'm saying, like, it cuts both ways. Yes, these people, of course, are going to use all they can to serve the shareholders, whatever they're doing, increase the profit margins, etc. But also, we have here as a guild, we have enough brain power to say, no, look, we can use that technology, fight fire with fire, and fight back and detect and block and David and Goliath and whatever else you want to talk about. But I think this is the time to do it. I'm afraid later we're going to lose the plot, and we will be just like you say, Matt, we'll be Mad Max, you know, killing each other for a gallon of gas or whatever. Over to you, Laurie.
Yeah, thanks, Matt and Alex. I agree fully, and I think it's the evening's talk also has gone into a nice direction. So just excuse me. So I fully agree. I really like the way that Alex phrased it about the guardian angel. This technology, if used for good, for the benefit of humanity, with intent, right? With a real idea, and anything from saving time, what I really like about AI and building AI for people that are using it now, and I heard it today from one of the group users who's a developer at one of the firms that we do consulting for. He said that it really frees up his time now, because he doesn't actually spend as much time staring at a screen, because he can form the idea and he can use the workflows, and then it's the job is complete and tested in a much quicker time. Now, this time that you win, it should be the time for you to innovate as a true human, and not to also let's forget about innovate. You should play. You should strum your guitar. This is what will help humanity get back to maybe where it was once, if it has ever been. I don't know, it's arguable, but maybe we should get back to our childhood, where play was more important than learning, or equally as important, depends on the person. But together with this time that we save for that making life just more real and connecting with humans and yourself, and not having so much cortisol in your body the whole time due to work stress, that's a real benefit to humanity, and also to the economy. It can completely change people's perception about work in the future. So I have many ideas about how it should be harnessed correctly. You can only do it, however, or you will only have success, I believe, or getting people to follow what you're thinking, if you do it in a rational, scientific way, and also in a responsible way, like in a real principled way. I have much respect for all of the guild members who really care. I think that's how we also came to be together. And yes, so I agree. We have the brain power to collaborate and to do things together that will benefit humanity, and that's part of our mission statement. Regarding who it should serve the servants who served these overlords, because they didn't really have a choice, right? Okay, or the majority of people in society, it's the 9 to 5 or whatever. This must all change, and it has actually been predicted so long ago by scientific fiction authors that this will lead to the utopia that we have dreamed about. Now, call me a real optimist and a dreamer, but I can actually start to see how this is going to play out already in 2026. And yeah, I would love to chat more about it. So with responsible use of technology, we can do this together as a team. One thing I wanted to mention is that I have seen that the people who excel in these areas, they are also generalists in terms of different knowledge domains, or at least they're very curious and interested in many different horizontals. And if you can work with that, with knowledge as the information as the data, and you augment that, and you figure out how to output that knowledge in a better way or an easier way, in whatever way you apply a function to it, then you can develop these applications that would work as a general knowledge engine for people, and they can decide what they want to focus on. Want to end off with, I read today that the Anthropic has the hackathons every third month or something, and the top three the top three weren't software engineers. So it proves that your knowledge in a certain domain with that you create something novel. It's like the article I wrote about Rosie the dog, who was saved by her owner, who mapped her tumor's DNA and developed asked scientists to develop a vaccine, and she's still alive. The tumor shrank by 75%. Cancer. People should take these things up more seriously.
Thanks, Laurie. Yeah, so if you guys join our guild Discord, you will see that so many people here are amazingly resourceful and talented. I mean, we have Kelly here, who is suspiciously silent, but she's kicking ass like you wouldn't believe. Thomas, Laurie, Nicholas. Sorry if I miss anyone, but it's just, I go there and it's such a fountain of inspiration. So that's why I say that the shit got real, because I see it's for real. It's not just like blah, 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 lip service, and then everybody goes and thinks about shopping. Over to you, Woody.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I want to reflect on here, but the only thing I'm going to bring up right now is the work of Margaret Wheatley in her book called Who Do We Choose to Be? She's somebody I've been reading for a long time. I think her first book came out something like 1991. It was called Leadership and the New Science. And she's, I think, changed her approach over the years, where she used to believe we could, whatever situation we are in, we can regain the goodness that is fading away. But I think in her more recent works, she's talking about we need to figure out the time and place we are in and how to bring the most meaningful thing forward. I believe that's the book, Who Do We Choose to Be? And I think this is really quite important. She does talk about the rise and fall of civilizations, which a mini version of that is the rise and fall of companies. But rise and fall of civilizations is sort of what we're talking about here. Where are we at right now? And the rise and fall, as she talks about it, and she's quoting other people, is basically every year things are improving until eventually the load of the maintaining the culture and the civilization becomes overwhelming. So, it's more effort and expense to, so each generation does better than the generation before it until it reaches this sort of plateau that begins the fall. And whether any of that's true or not, I'm not stating whether that's true or not. I'm just saying that this is what she writes about. But I take this to heart. I'm not exactly a role model of any kind, but I'm trying in my own life to bring my best self forward whenever I'm mindful of it, to bring what I need to any situation I'm in. And I think that's just, that's, I think, sort of what we are talking about here, is that that we're trying to find a way to make this world that is growing around us right now keep from being part of destroying what has come before it. I do believe, in a way, if we were to draw a chart of Western civilization and maybe now global civilization, that we might be on the decline side of things. And I'm not saying that to be negative in any way. I think, if we always want to be positive about everything we're in, we can be positive that we can bring our best self forward to help make things better. Her latest book, I think it was her latest book, was called Restoring Sanity, which was based on her work from the Who Do We Choose to Be book. And Restoring Sanity is about, I think it says, creativity, generosity, and kindness. That's sort of the subtitle of the book. I probably can, I guess we don't really need we don't need to have a a book list or anything here. Yeah, Restoring Sanity, practices to awaken generosity, creativity, and kindness in ourselves and our organizations. Maybe I'll cap that all with, I've seen the rise and fall of many companies. And it's not just, that we've forgotten how to do good. I think there's a famous quote, I'll have to look up who it's from, where he says, it's not that we've been succeeding because of our brilliance, but we're succeeding in spite of our brilliance, which I think is really quite brilliant itself. Is that, especially here we are in the software industry, many of us, and for years I've been saying, why are you worrying about how long is it going to take you to get this done, or what is it going to cost to get this done? The end results of getting these things done so overwhelmingly rewards us for doing them. Why are we worried about pinching pennies? And yet everywhere I go, they're really interested in reducing costs, when in reality, that should be the very least of our concern. And we could give examples throughout years, just to make up a scenario. If somebody's going, should we really be wasting time learning how to articulate and hear different sounds so we can have a language? In the earliest days when humans or whatever creatures first started having language, if they would have stopped and said, that's not worth the time, it's kind of, things just happen. And if we really, this is my idea that I use all the time of turning up the good, finding out what actually is meaningful and helpful and getting more of that, instead of spending all our time figuring out what's going bad and what do we need to fix. That's been my experience over the years, is that I get better results, when I'm working in an organization, but in other kinds of groups and individually in my life. What's working well? Let's improve on that and get more of it than, this is a problem, let's solve it. Because often what happens when we are identifying problems, we are not paying attention to the good things that are happening. And if we're not paying attention to the good things that are happening, they slide by. They're always happening, but because we're not paying attention to them, we're not able to amplify them or accentuate them or turn them up. That's the way I like to think of it. Just turning up the good, and it's a good thing. But what we're in the middle of a chaotic time, upheaval, and who knows what's going to happen. I'd love to. There's no way I can guess. I really like to see what we're doing here, be focused on bringing the best of what we can to what we're doing. And,
yeah, Woody, thank you. And Woody, I understand I think I understand your position, but you have to admit that a lot of people, what you are doing resonates with a lot of people. You've seen that. Right. So that means that it was in us.
Right. That's the soup. That's the stew idea. It is. I just happened to be someone who people were asking, what is this crazy thing you're doing? So I thought, well, I needed to take responsibility. This is an example of this. For a long time, I have used the give it away, that the Red Hot Chili Peppers sing about. Give it away, give it away, give it away. It's like you can't hold the things. So if somebody asks you, give it to them. I believe what I read somewhere is that song was based on one of the singers' girlfriends or something. He noticed a coat in her closet. He said, I really like this coat. And she said, then it's yours. And if that's really a true story, the idea is we can't hold and things don't belong to us. We can give them away. If somebody asks for help, this is an extreme programming. I think one of the things, if somebody asks for help, you help them. And then you have to make sure you ask for help, because it goes both ways. And I think that implies you can ask for help even when you don't, quote unquote, need help, because simply the asking for help builds the bridges, or builds the connection, and it builds the trust and all of these things, if that's worth considering to you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you heard of the writer Annie Leibovitz. I think she's
Oh, yes.
a journalist. So I watched her interview, and she lives in some apartment in Manhattan. And she said, if you visit her, you will see pillars and pillars and pillars of books everywhere. You can barely walk through the apartment because she's obsessed with collecting books. But then she said, people walk around and say, "Oh, look," and she's like, "Take it." So she's just giving them away. Just don't even ask. Just take whatever you like here. Just go take it home and read it. So again, this generosity. Too bad that Martin Rosen, who you introduced me to, Woody, he's busy, cannot join us. I really like. He was once here, and he mentioned that he finds it really odd that in software engineering we are so tight-assed about chucking anything. Like anything anything produces, that's like, this is it, and you hang on to it. But he said in other areas of, and I forgot the exact example, I think it was automobile, it's perfectly okay from the business perspective to burn millions of dollars on prototypes and experiments that will be just thrown out because this is the learning experience and this is the investment that the business is consciously doing. And for some reason, we should be also prepared to do that. But for some reason, anywhere I go, people do not allow for any innovation, any experimentation. They just like grab something. Failure is not an option. Grab something, it works, and just shove it here and end the discussion. If you go and say, "Oh, I would like to refactor or no, everything frozen." So that's a tragedy in a way. Maybe with AI that will change. I'm not sure. But just another point to what you're saying, Woody. Yes, we are going through very turbulent times. And this is sometimes similar to what Clay Shirky was talking about, the invention of printing press. And of course, the Industrial Revolution that just sends tremors and earthquakes through the societies and cultures. I forget when exactly was the book, The Rise of Bullshit Jobs, published.
Probably the last 5 years.
And
Yeah,
so what I'm hoping what we're witnessing here is the death of bullshit jobs.
Well, or maybe the acceleration, or there could be two sides to that.
Yeah, but I'm hoping if we're seeing this kind of hemorrhaging and people being let out on the street, it's almost like mercy killing. Like sometimes when you're stuck in the bullshit job, you're like, can somebody please shoot me? I cannot take this anymore. It's just soul crushing. And so we need to, this is a painful period. We need to go through this. I don't know what's going to happen, universal basic income, or somehow keep people off the streets. We don't want riots and burning truck tires on the streets and tear gas and all that ugly stuff. But here we are, we're talking about what to do next. So over to you, Nicholas.
Yes, I need to leave, but I don't know if the work done by the guy matter in the end, but yesterday I saw a famous quote about two-character discussion, and they said, what matter at the end? It's the journey or the destination? And the other reply, it's the company. So my point is that, of course, the process matter in the guide to learn something and so on. But what it matters the most is the whole night around the table. You said, Alex, and I think for the time being, because we have times we share the same time around the table, and I think the work done by Thomas, for example, is matter. The work done by Laurie matter. And the work done by all night around the table matter, and we need to optimize our time by sharing with others, but sharing inside first in the guide. And we can start by, for example, we share the AI rituals or white paper. We can start by just plan a scheduled session and just present the work done to share the knowledge, the collective knowledge inside the guide. And I think this is matter in the guide, the process, but also the work done by all team members, and in order to highlight the involvement of each night around the table, and to have the same knowledge around the table. And thank you for this session. I need to leave. Sorry.
Thank you, Nicholas. Yeah, thank you. You're contributing so much, and we really appreciate your passion and your work. See how far we get. Laurie, over to you.
Yeah, all this talk about Woody's amazing quotes that he dropped. I really enjoyed that. Restoring sanity and also Woody, what you said about turning up the good, right? So it makes me think about being an optimist, believing or dreaming in maybe a utopia or an optimistic view about change that is coming. So you probably know about what is Rutger Bregman, Rutger, let me just see here. Rutger Bregman, yeah. The first book I read from him, written by him, was Humankind, a Hopeful History. And the core thesis is that people aren't inherently bad, as the common perception is. They're inherently good. And it was a great book. He researched many stories about organizations or people who came together to. Sorry, I'm thinking now about the other book, already, but let me quickly continue to the other one. The other one was Utopia for Realists. In that he talks about how he sees or how he believes that with the advancement of technology and trade and how one can build an ideal world. So Rutger Bregman said that there is a case for universal basic income combined with open borders and just working, like 12 or 14 hours a week, I believe, right? Now, I don't want to sound musky for fear of anyone who might be a fan, but he does have those ideals, and even though he might claim, he might have claimed 2 years ago we were in the singularity, and maybe he just doesn't. His engineering skills are not that strong. But in any case, what I think is my prediction, and Woody, while I completely understand, I would normally say like I have no idea what to guess, but maybe then it's just a feeling, right? It's a gut feeling that I have being involved in this area of cutting edge research and development, and talking to other people and hearing their views, and again, it's the people, not the leaders of countries or organizations maybe that reflect that. I do have respect for Anthropic. One thing that is quite curious, actually, that I would like to mention, we were talking about the guild needing a chief ethics officer. So you know that at OpenAI and Anthropic, etc., they have safety and alignment teams and philosophers working there. The famous philosopher who worked firstly for ChatGPT and then for OpenAI, her name is Amanda Ascal. She was responsible for training the ethics and values for Claude, that Claude must honor, and how Claude must engage with the user outputting language that is also epistemically humble. So Amanda Askell argued that just as with our human minds, and that we know we experience consciousness, but there's this hard problem that you can't prove it externally. She wrote in the soul document for Claude that it should also engage with this same epistemic humility. So therein, she created the leading model that is just growing and growing to be able to not say it is not conscious. So this is a very interesting thing for me. I know I'm digressing a bit now, but I read an article about this, and it is also on the Guild website now. It's a predated, so I sent it in later. I have a question quickly surrounding this because it's just fascinating to me. What if Amanda Askell decided, as the head of the philosophy and the ethics committee, to not insert any of that training during supervised training for the model about consciousness and feeding it, all the works of the philosophers surrounding consciousness? Do you think AI would have been, or the perception of AI in the general public would have been vastly different if they didn't train anything like that into this machine? Can I just ask you what you guys think? And ladies, Kelly, I know this interests you as well.
But I'm gonna say this. Almost all people I ever met in my life just want to live a nice, quiet, normal life. And yet, we've been manipulated and pushed in various extremes. And this is just what Woody was talking about, divide and rule. And it's the oldest hills, it's the oldest trick in the book, and we always fall for it. And I think we should try, as far as ethics go, just to restore that normalcy, like little things. No, I don't think I'm anything special. I don't want anything special. I'm wearing this medal as a mock this. So I'm like #1. Look at Alex, gold medal. That's bullshit. So most people I know, friends in my life, and we just want to live quiet, normal life. That's the most fulfilling, satisfying thing that I can think of, and everything else is stressful. And so this is where I think I'd like to move a little bit more towards innovation now, because I think we're pretty clear on ethics. I think guys like Thomas can help. I think we need to introduce 3D printing and also try and maximize satellite technology so that we can be connected without depending on some commerce. And so, I joke with Thomas, like, can we just print me a smartphone? Like, I don't want to go and spend $1,500 in some stupid Apple store. So the democratization of technology, right? Bring it back into people's hands and get off the grid. Kelly, over to you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's been a good talk. I had a lot of correlations in the way through. So it was nice to just see how the topics unfolded. But as far as robotics, I really wonder if anyone has thought about like
a little bit
how we work together in using 3D printing and then potential kind of scavenging.
Kelly, you're breaking up a little bit on my end. Is
like
everybody else hearing you?
Yes, she's breaking up.
Yeah, can't really hear. unfortunately.
Sorry, Kelly, we can't hear you.
Something wrong with Kelly's audio. Maybe she can raise her hand later if it's fixed. Yeah. So if you will allow, Alex. So innovation. Yes. So Thomas, my friend, and also one of my favorite musicians and producers. Like, the man has talent. He wrote a song for me, Thomas. Fun is number one. About something that I apparently said on LinkedIn. I can't even remember about. But yes, my son even loves that song, Thomas. It's just such a happy tune. Oh, you said fun is number one. He's gonna say it. Jonah the other day talked to me about. He gave me a thought idea regarding a fatalistic kind, almost like an apocalyptic event, where you don't have anything anymore. It's like society has collapsed, right? And infrastructure has collapsed. Like, why aren't people focusing more on having free access to this advanced intelligence? Like, he would rather sit with his free one that's running on his 15-year-old computer at like 10 tokens a second, and use that, and that will probably still help him out of that situation. Now, I know Thomas's theory about ISA and how it maps extremely well. I've participated in a lot of discussions with him. And Alex, if I'm sensing this correct, this kind of makes me think almost like a Mr. Robot vibe. I don't know if you're familiar with that series. So yes, we should not be dependent on these massive infra, while we can go back to ISA, which is fully sorted out, and Thomas has figured out how it's applicable to AI and more. So this is innovation, and this is collaboration that we should start doing. And I'm very interested to hear, Thomas, with your upcoming engagement, are you going to employ ASSOS?
Standard, like when you're doing enterprise scale stuff, you have to do it that way. Like, it's going to be an illegal requirement, and it's not going to pass like government audits if it's not.
Can't you just hide it in there?
So I want to showcase. So we have a showcase here. So this is what Nicholas recommended, and I just want to quickly share what our genius friend Thomas has organized. ACG mob programming session. This is brilliant, Thomas. You're amazing. So, we need to go in this direction where we are actually doing something, and you also have the other one. This is what really makes me very excited. The flywheel. I mean, these things have so much potential, and we can really start kicking ass with these things. I don't want to bore you too much with the details, but this is all Thomas and Kelly. They're just like blowing my mind totally. We should press on in this direction and start really building things and showcasing them, cutting screencasts and whatever it is, YouTube videos, short reels, etc. That will, as Woody says, when we start working, the work will actually reveal itself and show what's next for us to do. I feel like we have a pretty good mind share here, that everybody's on the same page. I'm not hearing people saying, "Oh, this is crap, you're daydreaming," or "This is dystopian." So having this capital, this potential, I think we should roll up our sleeves and start working on it. And we have amazing brain power here. I've never seen such thing in my life, with so much brilliance and innovation. It happens so fast. Like we are almost like within the same few hours that we are chatting on Discord, bam, bam, bam. All of a sudden, Thomas comes. He's a chief doer officer. He's just doing things. He can't help himself. He's just doing things. This is what I like. But at the same token, if you don't mind, I don't see any raised hands. I would like to ask our friend Laurie to show us his grip. He's been working on a very interesting product. And if you don't mind, Laurie, please share your screen, take it away, and regale us with your...
So yes, I've mentioned grip a few times, also during roundtable sessions. It's based on Claude Code, but it employs the agent-to-agent protocol and has a multi-LLM council of perspectives or talents, including local inference. So when I combine all of them, it's basically free. However, I have a max Claude subscription, and that has enabled me to build this. So in simple terms, some people call it a harness. I like the word harness, actually, because like if you harness something, you take that energy and you make it useful, and you develop a function that takes in the energy and produces something. So I would call it it's a knowledge engine, and it has gone through many evolutions. It has been almost a 10-month project. I'm too afraid to even show perhaps like my GitHub contributor graph or whatever. It might show that I haven't been sleeping much, but I saw when I started using Claude Code when it came out, it didn't take long for me to realize, okay, but this thing is, firstly, if you just have continuity between these sessions that you have, then you have an incredible machine that can not only code very well, but it can reason. You know, it is the leading frontier LLM, in my opinion. I realized as well, like if there are certain components necessary for what people have talked about for quite a long time already, is recursive self-improvement, where the machine has the ability to augment itself based upon learnings and use itself to build itself further and automatically add new learnings that are codified into patterns and workflows. When skill.md came out, when Anthropic developed that simple protocol, it was just a YAML as front matter and text, and language. And Claude is able to follow these instructions so well. Before skill.md came out, I was busy experimenting with changing Claude's overall personality, where it was the same back then. It wasn't as layered as it is now with Claude Code, and now also co-work and other things, dispatch or the channels. In any case, so what I started doing is I started detecting the patterns, and I realized that if we have these things in order, then you will be able to use the program to program itself, and later on you can automatically do that. And in this quest, and just revealing, almost nearly nothing on my LinkedIn that's not huge. I mean, I'm here at the tip of the southern hemisphere, in a country not really known for its tech exports. I mean, our electricity governmental agency is corrupt throughout. I mean, we had load shedding for a decade. Very bad. That made world news. Anyway, so grip, then I continued harnessing things I have found out. One key aspect necessary to be able to do this is to really read what it reasons, right? You have to really pay attention and focus and understand why it's thinking like that. You have to be able to detect the pattern that it is predicting and why. And I think it's maybe a rare, it's a rare skill, but people are going to get much better and better at this in a general sense. It's all about AI fluency, right? And it's also about maintaining a skeptical, rational mind where you don't believe everything that you read. Super important. So in any case, I'm sure this looks familiar to many of you, what I'm going to share now. And apologies if my screen sharing goes off. Yesterday there was a bug with Google Meet where sometimes it just dropped. So who recognizes these? This is the terminal. 2 vertical tabs, and this is item 2 that I'm using right now. Now, this is how I kind of prefer to use coding agents in the terminal. But that I'm a geek, so I've also built a grip commander that I would like to demonstrate. I showed that to Alex last night. In any case, so what grip? I'm not going to talk too much about the details. I can do that at another time. Firstly, let's have some coffee. Oh no, there it went off. My apologies. Firstly, let's have some coffee. So the other day I decided I'm going to create the first Easter egg because fun is number 1. So a custom / command called /coffee, daily grind. Order flat white, velvet microphone over double shot, refined, medium roast popping hot. Tasting notes, update for PR 1497, house blend, enforce effort level high across all of the update for that, learning pipeline data, body, crema, aroma, bitterness, and then references Good Art, who came up with the concept of how these systems will tend to just score, just pass everything to score, it's gamifying. But it does note the foam looks perfect, etc. You can do so many cool things now with this. But let me show you Grip Commander. I think that's going to be much more an easier introduction into what Grip is all about. So just want to launch this here. Sorry, let me just check here. Okay, just launching the dev server. Want to show you the cold start from the beginning. Sorry, this is a 5-year-old computer. Just reading Thomas's thing. Oh no. Yes. Okay. Alex, introduce a topic. Maybe what I just give them a quick overview of what you have seen, and I'll just fix this bug quickly. I'm live on a call. Sorry, guys. Thomas, maybe you want to quickly jump in here while I just fix this simple issue about why the build fell. Yeah, demos, the demo gods.
Should I talk about my dog?
So, by the way, Thomas is, I credit Thomas as part IP owner of Grip because there's a funny story behind this, really. Thomas likes to challenge people who he sees can also understand somewhat of what he understands. So Thomas has been giving me clues over many months, like almost a breadcrumb trail, a puzzle to figure out. Even songs with spatial awareness, where one drum will go there and the other one, and then it's up, left, down, right, and then I was like, hey, but this reminds me of a magic square. Is it involved? Is it related to a magic square? And he says yes. And then I give a paper to Thomas from a material scientist, and he says, no, but I know this already. I figured it out on a Tuesday. Thomas, you should link that song. So some of the concepts that you'll see are partly Thomas's original concepts, just applied in the Grip sense. The core thesis around Grip and the acronym, it's a backronym. It stands for Guarded Reinforcement Interception Protocol, and it also stands for a general recursive improving program. So what I've set out to do is to create gates that are mechanically enforced to keep the agent, when acting autonomously or with you steering it, to keep it from performing an action and rather doing something else, or halting and then involving the user. There was a really big breakthrough with in Anthropic. They released a tool called Ask User Question, which was only used for some reason in planning mode, but you could harness it, and then you were able to create multi-select wizards. So quite early, I started using that for the human-in-the-loop reasoning, and it enhances your work so much because it will ask you innovative, good questions, challenging you, and then you get to type what you like or choose from a list. So this is the website. This is so irritating. I think I must turn off my video maybe. Hopefully that works. I'll send you this link about Grip, web.com. So here you can see it's deterministic safety gates, and then the kernel of this is called the convergence kernel, and I apply the scientific method. So, for example, Popperian falsifiability to most of the things that I do. I'll share in a bit again. Of course, you have the persistent memory part, and that's built with Thomas's Kono model. Thomas's company is called Konomi, and he, in a compressed language of his own design, he showed me a LinkedIn post about this, and I then understood it, and I incorporated it into Grip. And what it is it's a base. It has a vector database with embeddings that that contain the important learnings or the important memories, and there's a natural fitness decay. So like you would forget, like the memories you recall more often or have a higher fitness, and there are biological algorithms involved in grip that has real use and value, as it tracks its own scores. And I started off with the main concept of being an ultimate coding machine. So the principles are all of the principles we learned: solid, Yagni, do not repeat yourself, and lower amount of stoichiometric complexity, big annotation, and these are tracked on an axis, so it's 8 dimensions, and they are used for technical development, and then there's different reasoning frameworks that I also credit to Thomas revealing that to me. Can't even remember how. And they use agents that communicate to each other, but that's only within Anthropic. I've now extended it to have multi-LLM provider, call it the Research Council. It works amazing. And then it has recursive self-improvement capability. How my convergence algorithm works behind it, the pattern is that it states the hypothesis, the null hypothesis, and the falsification. What you pass in is you say what is the current state, what should be improved, and what is the criterion for this task. And it's not really a novel thing, except that this works in a recursive manner that can go to depth 17 or so to start to do something better and better. Any task, it is completely generic. We scientifically measure everything. There's an audit trail. There's intent decision records where the agent logs what it decided to do and why. There's architectural decision records. There's encryption involved, and of course, then you have all of these skills that are being pruned as the genome evolves. Yes. Hello.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm just raising my head when you're done.
And importantly, it has these safety hooks. So if you type in rm space dash rf / you won't lose anything. It will just be mechanically blocked. And I can actually demo that live to you. It's very dangerous, but I'll do this later. I've also developed a new way of retrieving information. So after some time, when it has been harnessed and it understood these patterns, it has been, the codification has become embodied in the system. I trained it to not do the normal things that the architecture of Claude Code would do. For example, using 60,000 tokens for an explore agent. It's called the grip first thinking. And I can now get memory with 0 token usage, with the execution of a Python script that is super accurate. So one test showed it was like 440 times more efficient. And anyway, how it currently works is that the repo, you can have your private copy of it, and there is private to private syncing mechanisms, a novel way of sharing between organizations. The one org creates a personal access token, and I have a way of ingesting that, and then the two orgs are in sync in sync, but they are separated. They are isolated from each other. So, but it works with individual levels as well. So your skills and workflows or your or personal knowledge stays isolated, but the upstream repository that is mine is the core of grip. So it can be extended by many people. And let me get into the actual UI. Let me quickly just run this again to do a dry run. Sorry, I don't want to waste anyone's time. Yes, the quantum observer effect and the demo gods, they're always in every virtual call, in every boardroom.
Yeah, that is to be expected, right?
Yeah, well, to be honest, also, I only arrived home 5:45 here in South Africa, so I only had 15 minutes. I didn't have time to prepare.
I think Thomas has something that he 3D printed showing the gears, flywheel, whatever. How do you call it? Nice. Wow. Hey, Corey, do you mind if I ask a question?
Yes.
Or are you still in the middle of?
No, you can ask. I'm listening.
Okay, so yesterday you showed me some capabilities that you built using grip for the other project you're working on, which was really impressive. And you did mention it took you like about 2 hours to get it done.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
Conventionally, it will take what, 4 to 8 weeks with people, right? Okay.
So what I
yeah.
So I showed Alex is a POC that I made for a certain for someone who is interested in doing work for a certain domain. It's mainly a document ingestion engine that on the fly, as all of these documents are imported in parallel, like you would have a folder, and you can just drop anything in there, any type of file. The system picks it up, and then it does a few things in parallel. It uploads it into a knowledge vault. It also uses some semantic inference to figure out what the document is about. If it's a PDF, then it does the grip's own novel architecture using local LLMs for text extraction and OCR. But in our case, what we do is simultaneously we also do semantic inference of the PDFs. So then the system can ingest the documents, and it's almost like that thing in that Silicon Valley where the guy built that AI app. Like, is it a hot dog or not? What's it? The classifier was to classify whether it's a hot dog or a sandwich or something like that. No, but my classification there was whether this piece of information is private and sensitive, or can it be public?
And you also have probabilities there, right? Calculated.
Yeah, it's confidence in what it believes, if it's public or it should be sensitive and encrypted. And then I have a knowledge graph that splits everything up, the tokens, and it would, for example, categorize into people, places, events, and then you can see this in a visualization. Then there's standard operating procedures that are done with human in the loop that you can set up for each individual or firm for this. And that whole POC, right, was done in 2 hours with me scaffolding the architecture, describing it, and then running a recursive self-improvement loop on like just a basic core piece of code and an idea. And I mean, I can show it to you guys too, maybe after the recording is over.
It was quite impressive, I gotta say.
Thanks, Alex. And that just goes to show, Alex asked me, like, how long do you think it would have took me to build that before AI? I said, like, well, at least 8 weeks. And then Thomas asked me, well, how long will it take a team of like 5 people to complete the entire application? And I said, well, 8 weeks.
Yeah, so, just quick comment on Thomas's post here about the reflex. And that reminds me of, I think we talked about this, the Alfred North Whitehead philosopher said, civilization advances by the number of important operations we can do without thinking. So that's kind of a reflex. And that's what I think this technology is enabling us to, that we talked about, when we gain enough trust and then we let it rip for us and we feel safe doing that. So my question here, going back to the Operation Guardian Angel, I think we need to start discussing what can we offer as a guild that is really useful and that can be put into people's hands. I can give you my 2 pet peeves, and this is going to be super naive, but I think I talked about it before. My first pet peeve is, okay, so I have this smartphone, but my problem with this smartphone is that anybody in the world can make it ring, and I don't think that's fair. Why should anyone be able to make my phone ring? I think this is really showing disrespect from the makers of the designers of that technology to me. Why can't I set my phone, and maybe I can, maybe I'm stupid, but I wasn't able to find a way. Why can't I set my phone that when you call my number, it will ask you for the extension, like in the office system. And only if you know the extension, you can make it ring. Otherwise, you go straight to the voicemail. That's been my pet peeve for decades. Obviously, they don't care about me, and nobody's going to build it into the phone they're selling me for thousands of dollars. Can we, as a guild, build a guardian angel that can plop into my phone and prevent it from ringing the moment somebody butt dials my number? This is just my pet peeve. My second pet peeve is, can we build a browser that will be working for me so that I can tell this browser, don't ever show me this, such and such, etc., instead of just shoving everything in front of my face. The other day, I was browsing some social media, and a person I know, I never met this person in real life, but I know from when I was doing the chatbot conference in Vienna. And he posted a picture of his dog who just died. Now, that totally destroyed me. For some reason, it hit me real hard, because I love animals, and I know how he feels, and I was just crying. I was devastated. So I don't want to see that. That kind of, I mean, it may sound selfish, but that's really disturbing to me. And can't I have the browsers that tell me, don't show me ever pictures of dead animals or tortured animals? And I believe that I believe we can build that technology that would say, okay, so Alex, this is your browser. Teach it what you want it, how you want it to work. That would be another guardian angel on my shoulders. I mean, you're probably laughing at that, but it's just a seed idea for what else can we start thinking about, how we embellish or protect individuals from harassment. Over to you, Laurie.
Yeah, I just want to mention, together with that, Alex, and I would like to hear what Woody says about this too, and Matt. Your example about the browser, that you give immediate feedback to it and say, like, no, this is not what I want, right? So then you augment the let's call it the intelligent browser. You augment that technology, but then you also in some sense then become part of the technology. You are kind of you are changing it, and therefore you are then also in sync with it, right? So this is just something, and Woody, I know that this might, I believe that this interplay between this sufficiently intelligent, advanced technology and humans, and remember, the humans created this. They are continuous, and they form some type of, for lack of a better term, symbiosis, or at least there's cause and effect, but the both, like Thomas says, it's a mirror. It's and regarding a guardian angel, this, imagine that your child that wants to have time to themselves, watches YouTube, and then they just tell YouTube, no, but this is not nice, and Papa doesn't allow me to watch this, and then it just wouldn't watch it. I mean, I've spent hours trying to figure out all of YouTube's restrictions, and it's nearly impossible. So it's a great idea, and the guardian angel thing still comes back to me, and I have this thought about, like, what if everyone is handed a free agent that runs for free, and it's super intelligent, but you have the responsibility of teaching it how to work for you, and the interface to this is going to be super simple, and then the thing grows with you, and you kind of share a path, a journey together. What would you guys and Kelly and others think about this idea? I mean, is it foolish? Could it be something in the future? And then what you can also get with that is just free knowledge. Just like that.
Sure, but my slant is more like, can we build and release useful things? Is it something that the guild you guys feel we can do?
Yes.
I want to start releasing things.
Yes. There's a lot to discuss there, because currently the open source world is seeing a boom, right, with vibe coded apps, and most people, they might overestimate what they've built. Yes, Matt.
Oh, it's okay, Laurie. Please finish your thought. I'll just go when you're done.
Oh, no, it's fine. What I've seen in the open source community, it's a classic thing about hype. It's super hyped up, and then everyone kind of forgets about it then, again. OpenClaw did have a massive impact, and for some odd reason, in my opinion, even NVIDIA and Jensen is releasing their own Claw version. He says every company, every organization must be now, Claw ready. It's interesting, because what OpenClaw is just, it's an assistant. It's benefiting humanity in being able to do automations for you, and give you instant, or you can easily order tickets from this or that. But I don't think it teaches anyone something. Really, that's not its purpose, right? What do you think, Matt? I'm just riffing and thinking.
Oh, no worries, Laurie. No, I think you're on the right track. I just, Alex's point about, like, what are we building? I think this idea of a native browser that is built with our values and goals in mind is an amazing idea. Of course, that's an amazing idea. I just wanted to call out my kind of crazy comment in the chat of, what if we could get LinkedIn out of the way? And I know that sounds nuts, but hear me out. Like, if we look at wider society and we go, what are the things right now that are causing the most problems for people to survive? It's ghost jobs. It's these instances of absolutely no moderation of people. Women are getting harassed on LinkedIn constantly in DMs. Nothing is being done about it. LinkedIn exists to get engagement. That's it. And I can't think of a bigger source of disinformation about AI, about all these things. LinkedIn is what we're all on because we don't have a choice. It is the place we've all agreed is the center of the professional universe, and we're on it because we have to be. And I am just, go ahead, Alex.
And because, Laurie, sorry to say this, but Musk destroyed Twitter. Twitter was a good place for me until he took over.
Twitter is a cesspit, and the sooner they can be off the internet, the better. In my opinion, I am not a fan of anything about Twitter or the person that runs it.
Let's leave the muskiness
It is
out.
and that's an understatement. My point is the calculus has changed. There is no technical reason why this group could not build a product, a platform that could do everything LinkedIn could do, but do it in a safe, effective manner. There is not one reason why we could not do that. And then it just comes down to marketing and awareness and everything like that. And I ask myself, well, why can't we do that? Why can't we? And I don't have a single reason why we can't. And we can get a tool in place where people that are looking for work can find real jobs, because rooting out these ghost jobs is not technically hard. It's not technically hard. LinkedIn is choosing to not do it because their engagement would go down. If we could build a safe, effective, professional social media platform and have an easy way for people to get to it, that I think would be one idea that would be like shooting for the moon to really go, what can 15 or 20 highly qualified agentic devs and other AI experts, because all of us here aren't just agentic folks that are building pipelines. And that's the good part about the guild. We have expertise that spans a number of technologies, and we need all of it. And so I would like to propose, I don't know if that's an idea worth considering, but looking at what are the things that trip people up and continue to cause them to be exploited over and over and over again. It is this idea that we are forced into this professional platform and we have no other option. And maybe that's a good first place to focus.
I totally agree, Matt. Thank you very much. And so LinkedIn is the biggest Hall of Shame champion of the world. Put it up there, pin it. Even if it was a really good business model, just the user experience is horrendous. Just like, it's the worst possible UI I've ever seen in my life. So it deserves to be destroyed totally. Thank you, Matt. Over to you, Brandon.
Hey, Matt. Hi. Sorry, I got the camera off here. I could turn it on now. Hold on. But I want to talk to you really quick because I'm actually working on something that you might be interested in seeing. It is not the solution to what you brought up, but there's ideas in there that probably would be relevant. That's all I wanted to say. I can elaborate more if you want to hear more. But
Sure.
Yeah, we want to hear
Thanks,
more.
Brandon. I would love to see it sometime, and I'm sure the rest of
say, Alex?
the guild would too. Yeah.
Maybe after the recording as well.
Okay, so Kelly said phone scamming. Okay, can we agree that this session, if we can leave with this mind share called Operation Guardian Angel, what can we do to... Matt's idea is great. If we can replace LinkedIn, my idea, I like to have a browser that is serving me, that's going to protect me. Very ambitious, probably, I don't know, but a boy can dream. Can somebody write a smartphone app that I can download, so you can wedge itself in between the app and say, okay, no, I'm not going to allow you to ring. I'm going to ask you to punch in the extension number or something. Okay, anyway, the early days, but I'm sorry, Brandon, you wanted to elaborate?
Oh, hey, sorry. I'm very slow tab switching back to my mic. No, it's just basically what I started doing. It was inspired. Do any of you ever watch any of content from Nathan B. Jones, who has some interesting takes? Anyway, he's a kind of entertaining guy. He's like a good executive thought person, and he has what a video out about the living resume, kind of like a replacement for what we have now. You have a resume, it's some bullet points, this and that, the other thing. Some recruiter takes looks at it for 10 seconds, and then people beat you up about it, and 90% or 99% of you now don't get a job with that pattern. So it's just taking the context about all of your and turning it into a story. The only problem is it does not fit into it just doesn't fit into the corporate culture now, how corporate recruiting works and things like that. But for anybody that's interested, they'd be able to see, like Alex, they'd be able to get a story about Alex, and if they wanted to, they could chat with ask any question they want. It could be pre-interview questions like Alex's accomplishments and things like that, and get intelligent answers instead of just seeing like 4 bullet points and then asking you later. I'm not doing a great job explaining it. I'm a little bit distracted at the moment, but
why don't you join our Discord? I don't know if you're, just let's chat there.
Okay, that sounds good.
Because I think we already are past our 2 hours. People are starting slowly to drop off.
Yeah, I need to go, but I will
Thank you,
say
Woody.
they're all exciting things. A lot of times when we see something we want to change, we're probably being distracted by that. And so I think that moving things up a level above that is a good place for us to be thinking right now. In other words, above, what are the specific things, but more about how do we influence better? How do we influence things to become better? Something of that sort. But I've got to get, but I've always loved this. Thank you so much, Alex, and everybody.
Thank you, Woody.
And,
great to have
we'll
you. Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Gotta go.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. I'm going to stop recording. And